Have you ever stopped to wonder why the price of, say, your morning coffee can change so much? Or why a brand new phone costs a fortune when it launches, but not so much a year later? Well, the answer to pretty much all of that comes down to one of the most powerful ideas in all of economics: demand. And trust me, getting a handle on this isn't just for economists. It's the secret to making really smart business decisions.
Okay, so I want you to picture this. You're in the boardroom. The stakes are high, and the CEO, Rajiv Agarwal, turns to you and asks these exact questions. We're not talking about a pop quiz here. These are huge, multi-million-dollar decisions. And the key to nailing the answers, it all boils down to one thing: deeply, truly understanding your customers, what they want, why they want it, and what they're actually willing to pay for it.
So, to give our CEO the answers he needs, we've got to start with the basics. We need to be super clear on what we mean by demand. Because in economics, it means something very, very specific. It's way more than just kind of wanting something. It's a real, measurable thing.
The term we're looking for is effective demand. And in that definition, there are two words that are absolutely crucial: willing and able. Think about it. You might want a private jet, right? But if you don't have the money for one, you're not actually part of the economic demand for private jets. It's that powerful combination of actually wanting something plus having the power to buy it that really drives a market.
You can really just break effective demand down into this simple three-part checklist. It's super straightforward. First, you've got to have the desire. You have to actually want the thing. Second, you need the means, the cold, hard cash. And finally, you have to be genuinely willing to part with that cash. If any one of those is missing, it's not economic demand. You need all three. All right, so now that we know exactly what demand is, we can talk about the biggest, most important rule that governs it. It's called the law of demand. And honestly, you see it in action every single day, whether you realize it or not.
Let's make this super simple. Look at this table for ice cream. If a single cup costs 60 rupees, most of us are probably buying 0. It's just too expensive. But what happens when that price starts to fall? At 40 rupees, maybe you'll grab 4 a week. Drop it to 20, and hey, you're up to 8. See that pattern? It's a classic inverse relationship. As price goes down, the amount people want to buy goes up. Simple as that.
And here's the cool part. When we take the numbers from that table and just plot them on a graph, bam, we get this, the famous, iconic, downward-sloping demand curve. Every single point on this line is just one of those price and quantity combos from our ice cream example. This simple picture right here, it's the beating heart of the law of demand.
So we've established that the price of ice cream changes how much we buy. But what if it's an incredibly hot day? Or what if a celebrity suddenly tweets about how much they love that brand of ice cream? You see, price isn't the only game in town. These other things, these non-price factors, can literally shift the entire curve.
A great example of this is how related goods affect each other. Let's start with substitutes. Think coffee and tea. If the price of your daily coffee suddenly shot through the roof, what would you do? A lot of people would just switch to tea, right? So demand for tea goes up. It's a direct relationship. Now, what about complements, things you use together, like cars and gas? If cars get super expensive, fewer people are going to buy them, which means the demand for gasoline is going to take a nosedive. That's an inverse relationship.
Okay, so this is a really important distinction to make. When only the price of the product itself changes, like our ice cream goes from 40 rupees to 20, we are just moving from one point to another along the existing demand curve. The fundamental desire for ice cream is the same, we're just reacting to a different price tag.
But when something else changes, like say you get a huge raise at work, suddenly you might want to buy more ice cream at every single price. Your whole outlook has changed. That's when the entire demand curve physically shifts, usually to the right. This is a totally different thing. It's a fundamental change in demand itself.
All right, now we get to the really good stuff. This is the secret weapon for any business. We know changing the price affects how many people buy something, but the million-dollar question is always, by how much? The answer is a concept called elasticity, and let me tell you, it can make or break a company.
Price elasticity of demand. That sounds fancy, but all it really is a measure of how sensitive your customers are to price changes. I like to think of it like a rubber band. For some products, you change the price just a little and demand stretches a lot. That's elastic. For other products, it's more like a steel chain. You can yank on the price all you want and demand barely moves. That's inelastic.
So how do we actually measure this sensitivity? Well, it's a pretty simple formula. You just take the percentage change in the quantity people buy and you divide it by the percentage change in the price. That's it. It tells us, hey, if we drop our price by 10%, Are sales going to go up by 20% or just a measly 2%? This number is pure gold for a business. So here's how you'll see it written out by the pros. And listen, don't let that little triangle symbol throw you. That's just the Greek letter delta, and it's just a shortcut for the change in. So all this is saying is the change in quantity over the original quantity divided by the change in price over the original price. I know, it looks a little intimidating, but let's just plug in some real numbers. It'll all click into place.
Okay, let's say a company is selling headphones. Right now, they're selling 100 pairs a month at a price of 500 rupees each. This is our starting point, our baseline.
Now, they decide to run a sale. They drop the price to 400 rupees, and what happens? Sales jump up to 150 pairs. Great! The law of demand works. But was this actually a good move for the business's bottom line? To know that, we have to calculate the elasticity.
So we run the numbers through our formula and we get this, 1.8. Now, here's the simple rule of thumb. Anytime that number is bigger than 1, we say demand is elastic. That tells us that for these headphones, customers are very sensitive to price changes.
Okay, let's bring it all back home, back to our CEO in the boardroom. How does knowing this number, knowing if his tea is elastic or inelastic, help him make those big decisions? Well, it all comes down to the one thing every business cares about: total revenue.
This right here is the whole ballgame. If your product is elastic, like our headphones, raising the price is a disaster. Yeah, you'll make more per item, but so many people will stop buying that your total revenue will actually go down. But if your product is inelastic, less than 1, you've got pricing power. You can raise the price, and because most customers will just shrug and pay it, your total revenue goes up. This table is basically the dashboard for any pricing strategy.
So what makes something elastic or not? Well, a few things. Demand gets way more elastic if there are a lot of substitutes available. If you don't like the price of one soda, you just buy another. Luxuries are more elastic than necessities. Things that take a big bite out of your budget, like a car or a vacation, tend to be more elastic. And finally, the more time you have to look for a better deal, the more elastic your demand becomes.
So that leaves us with one final thought. A question for you. Think about that coffee you buy every single morning, the one you think you can't live without. Do you think your demand for it is truly inelastic? Or, if the price suddenly jumped by 20%, would you suddenly discover just how elastic your demand really is and start making coffee at home? Something to think about.